Hey guys, welcome back to TCI Fridays, brought to you by
The Coaching Initiative.
The Coaching Initiative. Oh, I've forgotten what our thing is.
What our slogan?
No, because I wanted to deliver it in a really cool way, but I've forgotten it.
Empowering personal trainers, aligning the industry.
That one, but the podcast slogan, which is listen global, support local.
Oh, we've got two slogans.
Yeah.
Do you have two slogans?
Support
Third
your
slogan,
support your local coffee shop.
one podcast to rule them all.
We've been having Lord of chats.
Yeah, we have been having a really solid. The Jamal, who helped set up today's podcast.
Shout out, Jamal.
He's apparently a font of knowledge with Lord of the Rings. Yeah. So, yeah.
Very cool.
Visually Studios, point in their favour.
Ring in your favour. Very good, very good. Welcome back, guys. Thank you very much for listening. We're really enjoying making the podcast, and we're getting some great feedback. If you want to help us out, literally costs you nothing but 10 seconds of your time. Go rate the podcast, talk to people, tell how good it is. If you see it on Instagram, give it a like. Even if you don't watch the video, just drop a like as you scroll on by, and then hit the little repost button for us, because that pushes us out to all of your followers, which is really, really simple, really easy to do, and really does help us out. And yeah, we are, as much as we like doing this because it's fun, we're actively, pushing out good information into the industry, and we're creating a space for personal trainers to listen to the realities of what this industry is. Because yes, it does have its things, like everyone does, like every industry does. It's also a fantastic industry where you can build a real, actual, proper career and have a very fulfilling job and life as a result. So if you want to help us help people with that, hit that little repost, because it really makes a difference.
Nice. Help us help you.
Help us help you, help them help. Right?
The world.
The world. Heal the world, everyone.
Nice. Now,
Sweet.
if you will have clicked on this podcast, you'll have seen the title of today. We did a cadaver course.
We did do a cadaver course.
Went to a cadaver lab, which was a wild experience, and we wanted to talk about it today. We wanted to share that experience. Obviously, our mission is to be as transparent as possible in how we're actively engaging in the industry, what we're teaching, what we're learning. And I know that as we share something like a cadaver course, there'll be a lot of coaches that see it and go, why? Why the fuck are you doing that? And also, is that something I should do? So we wanted to give a little bit more insight into that, some takeaways from that experience, because it was a pretty crazy experience, and it's something that I'm sure we'll do again in the future. So
yeah, definitely. And if you have any interest in it, because we're going to put it out to some of our guys anyway. We've got a couple of people on the list, but if you have any interest in wanting to do one, do reach out, because we're going to try and organize like a group of personal trainers to go down. So this was my second time doing it. The first time I did it with a couple of PTs. So Conor Moran was there, Mike Cooper was there, and then there was a collection of other people. So it was like there was a couple of like student doctors who have to go and do it, and then a couple of like soft tissue therapists, sort of in training kind of thing. This second time, it was all personal trainers.
I literally want it. It was all personal trainers.
Yeah, it was all personal trainers.
And Smith, the doctor that was hosting our session, was like, all right, we'll just go through a brief introduction, like, tell us your name and what you do. And it wasn't, oh, my name's Jack and I'm a personal trainer, because that's what everyone would say. So everyone just started saying their locations.
Yeah. It was just like,
Moorgate, Islington.
So, Amy, Mimosa Wellness, organised it through some third space stuff, and then obviously we were speaking with her, so we managed to sort out some spaces as well. So it was all personal trainers. Now, immediately you might think, well, you're a personal trainer, why do you need to go and look at dead bodies? Well, because you actually get a very, very obvious appreciation for actual anatomy. Something that was said, which I thought was really important as well, was that we would have to have an appreciation that living live tissue would behave differently, of course, and that's obvious, because you're looking at, for lack of a better, you're looking at meat, for lack of a better term.
Dehydrated.
Yeah, literally. There was a point where he was talking, I can't remember which dissection it was on, but he was talking about like how old the model was, the specimen was, because it's all live tissue, and that's really important. Like, it's live tissue, so there's very strict regulations about respect and how you perform it and everything like that. So it is real live tissue. And obviously it's treated so it doesn't decay. That's the whole point of it. But this one specimen was really, really old, and he pulled back some of the muscles. And, this is not insensitive to say, but it just starts to look like jerky.
Yeah.
Like dried meat. It just looks like that. And when you hold the muscle tissue, because you can hold the muscle tissue if you want, it just feels like meat. It just feels like steak.
Yeah.
But just depending on the age of the model. Obviously is the sort of point in which it's dehydrated. But yeah, you get a very, very real appreciation for what anatomy actually looks like.
Definitely. And I think to echo that point about like what it looks like and what it appears to be, I think that's quite an important thing, because I know there's a part of me and Joe talked about this on the train down, about that nervousness when it's your first time doing it and you're like, I have no idea how I'm going to respond to this, because it's not something that you would normally experience, right? So, of course, like, we don't work in an industry like a public service where you would see a catastrophe of that proportion, right? So you don't tend to see dead bodies in real life. So then you're conscious that you're walking into this room and the cadaver lab is literally set up as almost like metal coffins, right? To preserve the bodies. So you're talking like 15 to 20 bodies in that room. And you walk into that room and you very quickly realize this is way beyond the experience that you expected. And you're like, fuck, I don't know how I'm going to respond here. But that perception of the muscle tissue and what's actually happening there, you very quickly disassociate, right? You very quickly disassociate from that being a human being. And it's so weird because it is a human being and you're very respectful of that. But at the same time, you're looking at the muscle tissue and you're like, this almost doesn't resemble the tissue that I associate it with, like living tissue and stuff. But it is, like you say, it was the anatomy insights were so insightful. I was doing some check-ins last night afterwards.
Always working, this guy.
Yeah. And I was saying to the guys on the check-ins, like, I would genuinely recommend it if you trust yourself to have a strong enough stomach for it, which it's probably not as bad as you think. You'll then go and maybe it is.
Well, I'm just trying to think, because I didn't want to interrupt you, but it's not gory.
No,
like that's not the right word,
but you can overthink it
100%. And like Jack and Joe, because obviously it was your first time. The first time I went in, I felt exactly like you guys felt. Like I was excited. I
spent the first 20 minutes going, "Don't pass out, don't pass out, don't pass out."
The people who introduce it literally go, please don't faint, because there's like sharp metal in here. So please don't faint. If you feel dizzy, just come around the corner, sit down. And that's the thing. You can go and come and go as you please, sort of thing. Yeah. But the first time I did it, it was the smell that got me, not of the flesh, of the chemical. And once you get used to that, it was okay. But I think a lot of it when you first go in is you don't know what to expect, because it's not like, it's not like gory in the sense of you don't obviously see any blood because there's none of it left, right? So it's not gory, but it is. It could be quite intense, and I feel like they sort of bring you into it the right way. So we started with the lower limb. So we were just looking at
and the it's almost like skeletal model first.
Yes.
So you're looking at the skeletal model, knowing it's a real skeleton. Yeah. But it looks so much like a model that you would get, like a plastic model.
Yeah, really.
That you're like, okay, that's fine. I'm comfortable with that. Yeah. And then he starts to, because obviously the bodies are covered with a sheet, and the faces and the heads are always covered with a sheet, unless otherwise requested.
You're looking at
yeah. So that's very helpful. But there is a part of it that's like, even if you looked away, like there's a windowsill covered in limbs and body parts in jars and stuff,
and whatnot,
which is fascinating. But yeah, I think it's just a normalization thing. Like spending half an hour in that room, and very quickly you go from not wanting to touch things to being like, oh yeah, I'll feel that tissue and stuff like that, and you progress very, very quickly through it. I think,
because I think at the first, I'm not putting you on blast.
No.
But at the first. Like 10-15 minutes they were handing around femurs,
and I was like, no, I'm all right.
And you were just like, no, I'm okay. But looking back, it was because you were going, I'm just busy not passing out right now. I'll get to that bit. But we talk all the time about structure governs function. So what a joint
how it's built.
Yeah, the shape of it will essentially determine what it can do, right? And what it is capable of. And that's obviously before any connective tissue, any soft tissue goes on, anything like that, right? So the shape of it will decipher what it's good at.
The elbow's a hinge joint. The elbow's a hinge joint.
Yeah, the elbow's a hinge joint. Believe us, we're seeing it now. As if we needed more confirmation. Elbow's a hinge. And then the other thing we always say is that your sport will choose you, right? So, what you're good at, there's a genetic predisposition to what you're going to be good at, right? And if we just remove the nervous system for a second and just look at structure, because that's what we're talking about initially, from a skeletal standpoint, you will have a genetic predisposition to being better at some things versus other things. So, for example, we were looking at knees, right? Which is also a hinge joint. Does have a rotational concept once you're at 90 degrees, but it's a hinge. And we were looking at knees, and the first knee we were looking at was obviously of an older person, and they were not as active and blah, blah, blah. And it was a very, very slight structure. And then the one next to it was honestly about twice the size. So right there and then, remove all muscle, remove everything, and just look at those two joints. Which one of those is going to be better suited to load bearing? Obviously, the bigger one.
Yeah.
So if you've got two healthy 30-year-old people and one of them has a massive knee comparative to the other one who just doesn't, straight away that person's going to be better at things like squatting and lunging and deadlifting and all those things and probably running potentially, where you're going to put load through that joint. Obviously, assuming all else is equal and all that stuff, right? But the important bit is that the structure will determine essentially what you're going to be predisposed to be good at.
Yeah.
And that's not saying don't do other things, but it is saying if you're going to be absolutely elite at something, everything has to line up. So your structure will line up, your muscle tissue will line up, your insertions of those muscle tissues will line up, your nervous system will line up in terms of like your access to your high threshold motor unit recruitment, all that kind of stuff, your natural explosiveness, all those things are trainable qualities like explosiveness and stuff. But if someone has that stuff genetically, they're going to be incredible.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
Even now, I don't think I could beat Usain Bolt in a race.
Even now?
Even now.
What about Gout?
Oh, he's behind me all the
He
time.
broke the 200 meter record, didn't he?
Unbelievable.
Insane.
Like, actually, it's just insanity.
What an absolute freak.
I can't remember
In
the
the
name of
best
the other
way.
guy. I was saying to you, the other guy who, I don't really know that much about like sprinting mechanics, but everybody's just saying how his technique is like completely flawless, right? And when he runs, he looks so casual. Like, he doesn't look like he's running at record pace because...
This is the Aussie guy.
I think he's Aussie, yeah. No, I think he might be London.
Huh.
Well, anyway, I'll find out. But it's ridiculous, And of course, there's all the training and everything and all that like dedication and stuff. We're not removing any of that, but it would be really interesting to see what like Eddie Hall's skeleton looks like.
Yeah.
Because I bet it's thick.
Yeah.
His lumbar vertebrae would be like this table. Just really solid, like
Just
discs.
Stacks of Diet Coke.
Yeah.
Cans of
like
Diet Coke.
that. Do you remember in Iron Man 3 where that one gets underneath the unit and like locks his vertebrae in place?
Yeah.
Like, that's what that would be like,
Good reference.
Thank you.
This guy's got sick references.
I'm sick
bro.
referencing this morning. All over it this morning.
But yeah,
it's
that's
and
true.
the other thing was when we held the femurs. So we were there with Jake, who we know, and he knows some stuff about anatomy as well. What we were doing was we were putting them next to each other, so lining up the tibial plateau on the table, and then seeing what's the angle
of the
femoral neck, because they were different.
Yeah.
So again, it just gives credence to, all right, well, make sure you put your feet here when you squat. Who for? Who are you talking about?
That's nice actually. I didn't catch you guys doing that, but
He was passing out.
yeah, I was too busy passing out. Yeah. Peaked. I peaked.
Yeah, he beat a little peaky. Joe was in the next room almost. I knew Joe was feeling because he was so far behind us.
Oh man, it's but yeah, that's interesting that you guys talk about that, because even when we teach it, right, we talk about genetic variance of like the hip socket. So we're talking about like if you assess someone's squat and you're determining whether they need like an 11 and 1 stance or a 10 and 2 just for depth, let's say. we talk about that usually in context of the hip socket and the angle of the hip socket, but the reality is femoral neck
Makes a difference.
The angle of the femoral neck, not just from I don't know what you would call it, like a sagittal axis versus like a anterior posterior axis kind of thing.
Oh yeah, so like the height versus the kind of like the right angle versus
yeah, exactly, and how much of a difference that would make, and then add to that the thickness of the greater trochanter and stuff like that.
Totally.
Mate, when he brought out the when he showed the osteoarthritis in the femoral head,
wild.
I did not know it would present like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, imagine someone having that in their hip socket. That must be so fucking painful.
So it was literally like one healthy, femur and then femoral neck and then acetabulum.
Yeah.
And you could see how they would like really go together. And then in the middle, it was like a deformed femur to the point where it was almost, it looked like the White Orc.
I thought it looked like the end of Gandalf's wooden staff.
Yeah, it actually did, because it had a bit of brown colour as well.
Yeah.
Jamal, you'd be loving that reference. But that's exactly what it looked like. And then the acetabulum, as a result of that, had all those
bone spurs
in it. And you're just like, that must be so painful.
Yeah.
And then the other side was a titanium, I don't know if it was titanium, but a metal hip, basically.
Yeah.
Looked class.
Yeah, looked bloody good. I was saying to Joe, I would absolutely get my hips
That's
replaced.
exactly what I said to Jay. I was like, we totally
Laura's dad got his hip replaced.
Yes.
And he was like up walking the next day.
Yeah.
Mental.
Bionic man.
Yeah, but it made sense what he said about like the risk of dislocation then being greater because you've traumatized all those tissues surrounding it, right? So the encapsulation,
scar tissue to come back and or to lay down. And
so, question for you: that's the second one you've done.
Yep.
What was one of your biggest insights this time around?
I think it reconfirmed a lot of what we've talked about with, especially lately, of joint movement and the muscles that will perform that joint movement. So we were talking about this yesterday, but this idea of like isolating muscle tissues is just, once you see it and you see how connected it is, it wasn't on this one, but we saw it on the last one I did, where the clavicular division of the pec and the anterior deltoid are almost the same muscle. Like they really, really are close to each other.
Because they're both attached to the clavicle, right?
Yeah, and they've got literally such a similar fiber orientation that it's just like, if you're getting one, you're probably getting the other, And you can bias, like you can definitely bias a tissue, but you're not isolating it. You're just not isolating it like we think we are.
Yeah.
So I think that it kind of reconfirms a lot of that stuff, and it made me look at, I don't know, I feel like my idea around training, or my sort of philosophy around training is always evolving, and the minute it's moving into this thing of like getting people to a point where they can perform outputs, right? So you start them off in a position where it's like, this is really important that we're very specific, and then you get to a point where if you want to, you can make this a bit more general, because now you have the robustness to deal with more general activity, right? And that kind of reconfirmed it, just in the way it was looking at it. I've got another one, but I'll go to you because it'll come back. So
I like that, to echo what you said, because you probably used that terminology more so in maybe the last 18 months, where rather than saying something like hamstring curl, you say knee flexion.
Yeah.
Rather than saying quad extension or leg extension, you say knee extension.
Yeah.
Because you're acknowledging this idea that in isolation, that knee flexion is occurring from multiple tissues at the same time. And that's a good thing. It's a design of the body.
It's meant to do that.
It's not a mistake.
No.
Oh, my client feels the calves in a leg curl. Yeah, that's not a fucking mistake.
Yeah,
it's because the calves are also aiding knee flexion.
Totally.
And obviously, it affects the client experience, whatever else. If you want them to feel the hamstrings, there's considerations, but the reality is, it crosses that joint.
Totally.
Right? It crosses that joint, so it should be doing something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that. I think that's great.
What about you?
I think for me, something that was interesting and insightful and I appreciate the difference in living tissue might be slightly different, is the robustness of certain fibers compared to others. So like the psoas and how dense and thick.
When he was doing it first, I was like, I know that's not a bone because I know there's not a bone there, but that looks like a bone.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Like that psoas major was so thick in that individual. And I appreciate like these deeper tissues. We don't often go to training and stimulating, right? I don't have a psoas day for someone, right?
You wait till your next phase, man.
I know. But the reality is, the only reason that could be thick and dense is because it's playing a large role in something, right? That just doesn't happen. You don't adapt to these really thick, dense muscles unless it's fucking doing something, right? That would be stupid. And then the internal leverages, and I was talking to Jake about this. Maybe he should be our shout out for today because we've mentioned it a few times.
Yeah, fair.
But the very obvious and apparent, and we've talked about this before, differences in internal moment arms and how you can see how much leverage that tissue would have over that joint compared to this other tissue that also crosses the same joint, and how it being further away or being a thicker tissue lends itself to being or to having more leverage over that joint.
Yeah, totally. Because we talk a lot about like superficial versus deep tissue, right? So your superficial muscles being the ones that are closer to the surface of your body. So your mirror muscles, if you like, those will have a greater leverage for the most part over the joints because they're further away.
Yeah.
And when you're looking at it on a cadaver and you're literally peeling back the pec, and you see, obviously the pec major and pec minor do different things, but glutes is a better example actually. So you peel back the glute max and you see the glute med, and then you peel back the glute med and see the glute min. Now, of course, the glute max is a much bigger muscle tissue than the glute min, for example. They do both perform abduction, but you could just see that, well, obviously the size difference, but also that leverage difference is not that much further out. It is, but it's also not, because it's only the length of a body, or a bit of the body. So it's not like when you learn levers and you're looking at something that's like 10 meters versus a meter or whatever. It's really quite small, but that makes such a difference.
Yeah,
and it does give you a real appreciation of like, wow, that glute max is doing some work. Yeah, like if you're sprinting or if you're doing a step up or whatever, that thing is doing some work. Or a hinge. Like that's really giving it some
1,000%.
But yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. The other thing that really hit me was the structure stuff. So we talk, like we said at the start, structure governs function and all that, but like the idea that you have a structural, I'm going to say limitation, but I don't mean it in this like negative context of, you're limited by your structure, but just the reality of where your structure is. And this is without things like ligaments, right? Which will definitely have a huge impact on what your joints can do. But we were looking at a spine, and it was a real spine. So not a model, an actual real spine that they've put together or taken out of somebody, and they've taken the ribs off. And we were looking at the lumbar spine, and we were checking the extension that would be available. So you're looking at the point in which the spinous processes would run into each other. And of course, once you put a disc in there, you're going to give it a little bit more space, but it's not going to be huge amounts, depending on the size of the disc. And this person just didn't have that much extension. Yeah. They just didn't. We get some clients who look like they could win a limbo competition. They've got that much extension. I've got a client at the moment who was a dancer, right? And her extension is fantastic. She's got a lot of extension. So does she have a lot of extension because she was a dancer, or was she a dancer because she has a lot of extension, right? Because if your sport activity chooses you, probably ends up that she was probably good at that because her body facilitated those movements. Yeah. Right?
Because I think clinically, if anything, over time, as she extended her spine, that bone on bone contact, it wouldn't ever increase spinal extension. If anything, it would reduce it.
100%. Right? Yeah. If you actually manage to smash those spinous processes into each other, you probably end up reducing it because you lay down new bone, right? Yeah. So you don't tend to do stuff that you're not very good at because you don't enjoy it, right? So it's almost like this, that's actually why. That's probably why you stick at things.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we were looking at the spine and we were pushing it into extension. And then when you sort of step back and looked at it, it's like, it's really not that much.
No.
It's really not that much extension there. And that's the end of that, you know? So if you then put that person on something like a spinal extension, right? Now you've not just got the structure, but you've got the ligaments on top of that. You've got the ability for the muscles to shorten on the back. You've got the ability for the muscles to lengthen on the front. You've also got the person's nervous system, which is, I really like what Liam said about, you know, gaining access from the nervous system to access a range. Gaining permission, which echoes like what we've talked about for a long time now. So you've got all those considerations. So then it just makes it sound really, really stupid to stand there and think that, well, that person's extension looks like that, so should that person's.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a really silly thing. And we've said that, well, maybe not that, but we've done the thing where everyone has to do the same movements kind of stuff. But it just really gives a lot of credence to the display of a performance of an exercise. It's going to look so different person to person, purely based off those things that we've just listed.
Yeah.
You know, we always use ourselves as the example in TCI because you can't tell sitting down, but Jack's actually a lot taller and a lot wider than me, like in your shoulders. And hilariously, when we were dieting down, we both had the same waist, which is ridiculous.
I was showing, I don't know why, but I was showing Laura a photo of you at your photo shoot.
You showing her your phone background? you just did your favourite album.
It's actually the photo of Joe rubbing coconut oil on your back. And to be fair,
that was just
when you're that dice, like you do have like a really solid taper.
Yeah, for sure.
But at the same time, when you're carrying body fat,
yeah.
and it perfectly serves the function for what you also need.
Totally. I look like a fridge.
Yeah, which is great for your sport.
yeah, well that's it, right? But that is exactly it. Like, so I don't. What waist do you now? Like 32?
Yeah, as prep goes on, I'll drop below 30. Yeah,
which is ridiculous. Like, so 28-inch waist or something like that, and you know it sounds like I'm just blowing him up, but he has got very broad shoulders. So it's like it is that V taper. Now when I'm lean and I lose the saddlebags, right? My shoulders are quite broad, so I really like bring that illusion kind of thing. But again, like we've talked about this before, we were both sub 10% on calipers, so whatever that means. But we were both sub 10% on our calipers, and we looked completely different. But of course we do, because our structure is completely different. So if your skeleton is different, your muscles attach onto your skeleton. So now your muscular attachments are in different spaces. Right, relatively the same, but it's on a different structure, right? And then they're going to attach into similar but maybe slightly different positions. Length of your muscle belly versus length of your tendon, for example, right? So you're going to look completely different. You know, you're going to look completely different. So genetics plays such a huge role. If you're going to be Chris Bumstead, you're going to have really good muscle bellies. You're going to have really good insertions, and you're also going to have a really good work ethic, and you're going to do all the things that are required for you to be a champion. But you're also going to have the genetic ability to do those things.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it sets the tone of that potential, right? Like that idea of fulfilling potential,
exactly.
and what that looks like as an endpoint for everybody. So, yeah, man. A Cadaver course was class. I would definitely recommend it to
Would you want to do it again?
I think it's interesting because me and Joe had this conversation, and we were saying as we were waiting outside before it started, I was saying to him, like, yeah, I just don't see why you would need to do it again.
Yeah.
But I think the frequency of observation, or at least the difference in observation, because I know sometimes they use different specimens to demonstrate different things. I think that will be useful to start to see the differences person to person to person, how that looks in an elderly individual that's died of natural causes at like, what was that?
104.
One specimen was like 104, which is fucking insane, and completely healthy when they died, ironically. But how that demonstrates in that person, or how that's expressed in their physical structure, the muscle tissue they have, because you can very quickly see when they pull out a younger person's leg compared to an older person's because of the muscle wastage on those quads.
Totally.
And it's like, fuck, that demonstration of sarcopenia and lifestyle changes is so obvious. And then
makes you want to train, doesn't it?
Yeah. What's the type of bone inside? Is it the trabecular? The trabecular bone tissue that's obviously laid down based on force and mechanics that the person deals with. And you could very easily see why, and me and Joe were talking about this, how brittle bones become a thing, or how breakages are so much more common relative to the force that bone is dealing with, because you can literally see, it's like webbing, isn't it? It's fucking fascinating that the body does all of this without you being aware of it. Mental.
Like the adaptation. But
But
it gives real credence to resistance training, improving bone density. It massively gives credence to that.
You see that actual adaptation, and you see, because they had like a pelvis, but there was parts of the pelvis shaved off so you could see inside it. And you could see the parts of the pelvis where muscle tissue had pulled on it, so it had laid down that bone tissue more, so there was more webbing at certain areas. And you could just see how that would just be far less likely to break than these hollowed out structures.
So cool.
And it's like, yeah, fucking, why are we not roll resistance training? Like,
100%. And maybe my client isn't as delicate as I like to believe.
Yeah.
Because, well, they're pretty solid.
Seeing some of those structures where the joint is literally encased in rotator cuff tissue, soft tissue, then fascia, then superficial tissue, then more fascia. And you're like, oh yeah, that fucking joint ain't going anywhere.
Solid.
Yeah.
It's a miracle that anybody has ever dislocated a hip.
Genuinely.
Like, but you could see, okay, that must mean either something like a hip dysplasia, or someone's obviously had an operation or something like that, or there must have been so much force in exactly the right position for that to have happened, because we weren't even looking at the ligaments that go over the front.
1,000%.
Absolutely.
It's just immediate application, mate. I shit you not. When I walked back to my hotel last night,
Dislocated your hip.
I dislocated my hip, crawled to the hotel. I was listening to a client's voice note who's just torn his MCL, right?
I've seen one today.
What did Smith say about the MCL? He said there's attachment points into the meniscus. So when people tear their MCL, sometimes it pulls on the meniscus and tears that. Shit you not, he sent me a voice note and he was like, yeah, they've confirmed MCL tear, but there looks like there's slight damage to the meniscus tissue as well. And I was like, fucking hell. I've literally just seen this in real life.
You won't believe this, but I know exactly what you mean.
Literally, that's exactly what I said to him. And I was like, this is exactly why these kinds of things are useful. Yeah,
I think it really does give you an inside view.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term. So
yeah.
Awesome. So Cadaver Club, I was going to call it then. Cadaver Club, Cadaver Labs, definitely recommend. As we said, if you're interested, if you're like, actually, I would really be fascinated to do that. We've got about 5 people who want to do it. So we're probably looking for another 5.
Yeah, it's like a threshold. Like they'll run the lab as long as there's enough numbers.
Yeah.
And it's all just relative to the ticket price. Like we earn nothing from it. It's just that we want you guys to be able to see what we've seen.
Yeah. So if you are interested, drop us a message, because it's something I would do it again, and I would like to do it from a position of like us taking some students and stuff. But like you were saying about, just the sort of repetition of seeing would be really cool. So yeah, I think absolutely recommend for everybody to do it. We're probably going to do it again. I think Def will do it again. Yeah. But yeah, it really gives you a cool insight.
Lovely.
Awesome. All right. Small business coaching. So small coaching business shout out.
Let's do it.
Is that the right way?
Small coaching business shout out.
SCBS.
Yeah.
Cool.
CBS. Mr. Jake Weeks, sir, it was a pleasure to meet you in person. Anthony, you and Anthony obviously know each other from Integ Project. So you've met obviously a few times. We obviously met in person for the first time, but what a fucking nice guy.
Really nice guy.
A great guy. Really good lad. Very similar ethos to us.
Yep.
Very keen to just help the industry move forward and progress. You could probably shine more light on.
Yeah, so he's been working with personal trainers for a long, long time. I've known Jake for years now. it was one of those things where we knew each other via a screen for a long time, and then we finally met in person, and obviously met Jack and Joe yesterday. But yeah, so Jake works with the Complete Trainer Project. Go and check him out on Instagram. He works with younger PTs and fantastic at talking about conversing and the importance of real life experience on the gym floor and how to apply that into coaching your actual clients and progressing clients. Talks about fantastic things on his Instagram, and he's always helping people out. He's still a coach as well, which is really cool. So he's very much, as we are, on the floor, on the ground with that. And yeah, pushes a lot of really cool stuff. So the Complete Trainer Project on Instagram, go and check him out. He's done some podcasts in the past, and he's got some great information. He's based in South London, so if you're around that area and you're looking for, we talk all the time about like personal trainers need to be around other PTs. Like you'll learn so much just paying for like an hour a week for 6 weeks of somebody's time. We've said before, if you're in Nottingham, you should go and buy some time off Joe, because the investment that you'll get, the return on investment that you'll get is just unbelievable. So go and spend some time with Jake. You could totally go and pay for a call as well, but you'd be much better off to go and visit his facility and spend some time like hands-on practical stuff for sure. So yeah, go check him out. And that's our small business coaching shout out.
Delightful. Guys, we hope you enjoyed listening to our insights on Cadaver Lab. Don't hesitate to reach out to us if that sounds like something you would be interested in. We could add you to the list. The coaching initiative on Instagram, Anthony Barnes Coaching, Jack K Coaching on Instagram, or you can email us at info@thecoachinginitiative.net. Otherwise, we will see you on the next one.
Peace.